Welcome to Pepperl+Fuchs Plugged In, where automation professionals can stay in touch with the latest enhancements in sensing, data communication, and control.
Welcome, everybody, to today's episode of Pepperl+Fuchs Plugged In. Today, I have with me Eduardo Bustillos, the product manager at Pepperl+Fuchs Americas for inductive sensors, amongst other things. Hello, Eduardo.
Hello, Helga. Thank you for having me on today. I'm really excited about our topic today.
You're welcome anytime. We talked earlier a little bit. You have some really, exciting products for us today. Why don't you talk to us a little bit about what they are, and then we just go through our regular conversation, see where it leads us.
Definitely. So first, I really wanted to talk about today about our reduction factor 1 proximity sensors that we have in the inductive portfolio.
So, Eduardo, number one, I'm fairly certain that most everybody knows what a reduction factor 1 sensor is. But just if we have someone who's just getting into sensing and automation, tell us, what is a reduction factor 1? And I'll follow that up with another question.
Absolutely. So first, typical inductive sensors that you'll see in any application, they detect different metals at different ranges. It could vary a little bit, maybe between two different kinds of steel, or it could vary a lot, maybe between trying to detect steel versus brass or copper. It can vary a lot. I mean, over a 50% difference. A reduction factor 1 sensor eliminates that. It can detect multiple different metals at the same range, so you don't have to worry about whether the material of a certain item or the material of a certain object, if you have to move the sensor closer, you have to dial it in or whatever, but a reduction factor 1 sensor eliminates that completely.
All metals at the same distance. And you already kind of guessed what I was going to ask next, and that's, of course, why is that important? If you could go a little bit deeper into the why question for reduction factor 1.
Well, for starters, it's a sensor that can do many things. If normally you have a machine, you're limited to maybe perhaps running just one type of product through it. But with a reduction factor 1 sensor, it can allow you to run multiple different items through a particular machine without having to adjust the sensor or reconfigure the sensor. It really just gives the user or the machine builder a little bit more flexibility.
And simplicity, I should say. You know, if you think about a brake where you bend sheet metal, one day you could bend stainless, the next day you could bend aluminum, on the third day you might bend mild steel. And with a reduction factor 1, you set the sensor up once and you're good.
Exactly. It makes it much more simple for the designer and the user whenever you're using these type of products.
All right. Now, of course, we had reduction factor 1 sensors for a long time. What's new?
So first, our newest iteration of reduction factor 1 sensors, a lot of them have IO link. And that's, of course, we see that everywhere. It's going to be the future for lots of customers, lots of users, just Industry 4.0 and connectivity and all that. But that's really one of the main features of our reduction factor 1 sensors now.
And I should mention that either it's already out on our podcast page or it will be out very soon. Jerry Pacey and I did an episode on the advantages of IO Link in light of IoT and predictive maintenance and preventative maintenance and so forth. And the same, of course, applies here. So do me a favor and tell us what extra parameters or what extra features an IO Link inductive sensor brings that could be used to make machines more reliable and more effective.
Well, first, with IO Link, you get that connectivity to the device at the field level. So for an inductive sensor, if it is used in a machine that's very hard to access, or if it's in a dangerous area, you always know whether that sensor is alive, whether it's functioning, without having to do any type of particular maintenance or investigation or anything. So that's really the main draw to an IO Link proximity sensor. Yeah.
Now, other sensors that we have with IO-Link, they have parameters like temperature and stability alarm. Do these bring that along as well?
Yes, one really nice thing about our IO-Link inductive sensors is they do have an over temperature alarm. Now, for some applications that may not matter, but for example, in a welding application that is very important, there's a term called it's called heat creep. And anybody who's worked with 3D printers, maybe you have one in your house or anything, just a small one, you know that term. And basically, whenever the machine is running, whenever any type of machine is running, and it has a heat source, the heat can travel up the tooling, up the machine just through normal conduction. And normally, if a sensor, for an IO Link sensor, if it does have that over temperature feature and the environment does get too hot over time, the sensor will actually tell you, hey, I'm too hot, I'm not going to work well, something's wrong. And that's one
Yeah.
of the nice features of IO Link.
Okay, that's good. Now, and then there are other functions. I don't think we have to necessarily go into those, but as always, IO-Link brings a lot of additional flexibility.
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, just real quick, with for inductive sensors, which is unique. Usually, inductive sensors, once you set them, they have a fixed range. With our IO Link sensors, you have a little bit of flexibility with the sensing range and the sensing behavior. So that's really a nice feature for our IO Link sensors, and it goes back to these being a multitasking sensor, and they can do multiple different things in just one sensor.
Very good. Now, you also, and I was expecting you to, and I hope you're going to go into that a little bit. You did talk about welding. Now, there is something in this particular product category, these new sensors, that has to do with welding. What is that?
Definitely. So Pepperl+Fuchs has always been really involved in the automotive department and or in the automotive industry, and for welding in particular, ours are among the best. Our welding specific inductive sensors, they have a basically a Teflon coating that it prevents the buildup of weld slag whenever they're installed on a machine. And not only that, they have a really high magnetic field resistance, so they can still operate pretty well with really good stability, even when they're near a high power welding machine when that's actually running. So all that current could cause an issue with a maybe another type of sensor that doesn't have as much magnetic field resistance. But yeah, those two things: the special coating and the magnetic field resistance.
Very good. All right. So it's therefore fair to say that with the release of these products, we completed our offering. We already had weld-filled immune sensors. We had extended range sensors for a long time, but now we have those flavors also with the very popular IO-Link interface.
Exactly. Yep. So this is a it's sort of a completion of a portfolio that we're very proud of.
Great. So that line has been completed, and now we open another chapter. And I think we need to talk about our food and beverage offering.
Right. So we're not stopping there. As much as we love the automotive department, as much as we've developed inductive sensors for so long, what we do have a specialized version of the reduction factor 1 sensors, and it is designed for food and beverage applications.
So what does that mean? What goes into a food and beverage design?
Well, for starters, it's made with a special kind of steel. It's a kind of steel that has more chromium and nickel. So what really that translates to is it's incredibly corrosion resistant, especially against chemicals that contain a lot of chlorine or any type of acidic chemicals. So really, that's basically any harsh cleaning agent that you'll see used to wash down food and beverage machines. But that's just one. That's just one unique feature about this. These have a very special stainless steel. And another feature is that the actual face of the sensor is made of a special kind of plastic that's the same type of plastic that's used in different medical devices, and the actual plastic is FDA conforming. So we're following all the guidelines placed by the FDA whenever we decided the materials for this sensor.
Okay. Okay, very good. Very good. So is there anything else you need to share on these before I attempt my summary?
I do want to add one more thing about the food and bev. It really fits really well in the reduction factor 1 group, because modern food and beverage applications, you could be counting bottles, counting bottle caps, but since it's reduction factor 1, you could be detecting aluminum cans, you could be detecting tin cans, you could be detecting all these different types of packaging for food and bev that you probably couldn't easily detect with a regular sensor.
Yeah, and so when the line is planned, whoever designs the line, whoever is taking care of the sensors, wouldn't have to think about, do I need a sensor that detects aluminum? Do I need one that detects metal? Do I need one that detects tin? One sensor can be used in all these various locations. It detects them all.
Absolutely. Yep. It's just one less decision that has to be made by the machine builder, by the engineer, and we're very proud of that.
Excellent. Good. Eduardo, you know the drill. While I'm trying to summarize what I've learned today, it's your job to come up with our 5-word statement, what you want our audience to take away from the conversation, please. All right. So the product you introduced us today is a reduction factor 1 sensor family extension. By family extension, what I mean by that is we are taking our well-known Weld-Immune reduction factor 1 and normal application, I want to call it reduction factor 1 sensors, and adding the IO-Link interface. And by doing that, we provide additional critical information to the user, sort of in the spirit of IIoT. And I'm just going to mention stability alarm and over temperature alarms that the sensors now have. And we are completing our offering. So Pepperl+Fuchs now has the interface that is required for these types of demanding applications. And then on top of that, also reduction factor 1, we are now introducing a food and beverage line that is designed specifically with the chemicals and the harsh environments in mind that one finds in food and beverage. Does that sort of summarize what we should be taking away from today's conversation, Eduardo?
Yeah, definitely. I think that definitely wraps it up in a nice package, and yeah, I think that I'm really excited for this line.
Good. So now it's your turn. What's the 5-word statement?
Okay, I'm going to cheat a little bit. I have a 6-word statement, but it is metal mastery, 1 sensor, infinite possibilities. And I really just want to go back and highlight that this is a multitasking sensor. It's 1 sensor that can do many different things.
Very good. All right, Eduardo, thank you very much for the conversation today. And everybody else there, thank you very much for joining Pepperl+Fuchs Plugged In, and we will be back soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Pepperl+Fuchs Plugged In. Please subscribe to our channel and never miss hearing about the latest innovations in factory automation.